What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So over the weekend, Sony did discuss quite a bit about the game's business side with PlayStation, and they were asked quite a bit about the Switch 2, specifically some concerns around how Nintendo's new platform could affect Sony's business, and we'll go over what their response was exactly here today. Also, we are going to be talking about what looks like rising prices once again, this time though more so with the subscription side of things, and GameStop. They're not exactly set on a course that's going to be great for them in the future when it comes to physical games, but it seems like they have a new strategy, and, well, you let me know if this is a good idea as we go along. So if you guys enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And of course, members for the channel do get Newswave early. If you would like to learn more about that, click the join button or the link in the description down below. And we're going to start today with Sony, as again, they were speaking with investors. They had an entire PowerPoint presentation around the current state of the PlayStation business, but they also discussed things about future hardware. Specifically, they were asked if the potential that we're seeing right now out of cloud gaming could end up just replacing console hardware, and they wouldn't need new generation or next generation platforms like, say, a PlayStation 6. We can see this posted up, though. This is over on VGC, where they are quoting the Sony PlayStation CEO, saying, "We now have a large ecosystem of highly engaged players across both the PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4 generations, so naturally, therefore, there's a huge interest in our next-generation console strategy. While we cannot share further details at this stage, the future of the platform is top of mind. We are committed to exploring a new and enhanced way for players to engage with our content and services." So again, this is Hideaki Nishino, who's Sony Interactive Entertainment's president and CEO. And a lot of people looked at this and said, oh, they're talking about PlayStation 6. I mean, they were kind of asked about the future of their hardware versus cloud gaming and if it could take over, and they don't seem to think that's the case anytime soon. As in, yes, we're thinking about the PlayStation 6, and they should be. I mean, we figure right now, based on those leaked court documents during the FTC trial, that they're looking sometime in 2028, probably holiday, as we'd assume. So we're still years and years off, but we know it takes years and years to plan out new hardware. So to me, this just seems standard in terms of the timeline. But based on how things have gone with the PlayStation 5 generation, with a lot of canceled projects and how long it takes for games to come out, I understand why people get a little antsy when they hear about the PlayStation 6 already. Also, big news for Minecraft fans is it looks like this visual overhaul update is going live this week. We can see this posted up. This is actually a trailer they did, kind of a deep dive explaining some of the development process around it and why they made some of these decisions. But this update will be live June 17th. Now, it appears to be, they say, improving visual elements such as directional lighting, volumetric fog, and more. Now, when you look at it, yes, it looks better. Keep in mind, it's still going to look like Minecraft, okay? I mean, it has a very specific, kind of simplistic art style to it, right? Obviously, blocky nature to it. But it does look more modern, we'll say, more advanced. And they did mention that every biome kind of has its own atmosphere now because of these improvements. Now, this will be on by default after the update. You can go in and just turn it off if you just want old school looking Minecraft back. And from what I can tell, there are a few caveats. One, it won't be available for the Switch 1. Other platforms will, I guess, get this along with PlayStation 4 and Xbox One even. I assume that means a Switch 2 version of Minecraft will be down the road and most likely will have these visual enhancements just based on how popular Minecraft has been on the Switch. And if you right now on the Java version, this will also not be available, but they insist they're actively working on it. So there you go. Big news there for Minecraft fans. Keep an eye out this week for that update. Oh, and we've already talked extensively, I feel like at this point, around MindsEye and how much of a disaster that's been. Now it appears it is the worst rated game of the year, which if you look over on Metacritic, it's currently sitting at a 43 on the PC and a 31 on the PlayStation 5. Keep in mind, we have 4 reviews on the PS5 and 7 reviews on the PC. That said, I don't know how much help they're going to get with more reviews coming in. 31's pretty low on the PS5. Wouldn't be shocked if it got lower with more reviews. It's not a great experience right now. And I don't even know if it ran perfectly. It would still be a very good experience. It's just, in general, not a great game. So, yeah, probably not worth buying at $60. Maybe someday when it's $10 on steep discount, and you're like, I want to see just how bad this game is. Yeah, maybe then you can go ahead and move on it and have a laugh or two throughout a weekend. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Sony and them responding to investors around concerns with the Switch 2. Now, we know the Switch 2, massive launch, right? 3.5 million systems that were sold through to customers in just 4 days. And there's a chance that it ends up being 5 to 6 million. I'm going out on a limb and saying around there by the end of this month in June, which puts them definitely on track for their 15 million Switch 2 systems are looking to move by the end of this fiscal year, and might even approach 20. It's all very possible since, well, we still need to get through a holiday with this system. That said, Sony, naturally with the PS5, as they're kind of rolling along, not really being challenged much right now on the console hardware side by Xbox, investors seem a little concerned that maybe a new challenger is rising up here with Nintendo on the hardware front with their Switch 2 that is, much more capable than the Switch 1. This we can see posted up. This is over on Nintendo Everything, saying Sony Interactive Entertainment President and CEO Hideaki Nishino first addressed investor concerns about increased competition for PlayStation and third-party relationships given Nintendo Switch 2's improved specs. Regarding that, he said, quote, "As I mentioned previously, we have a different strategy. PlayStation 5 is designed for immersive gaming experiences, and this includes the innovative DualSense controller features as well. We believe PS5 level performance is required to achieve a great experience on big screens, and in this way, we have provided a unique offering for players and creators in this current console generation. Publisher strategies are increasingly shifting towards being multi-platform, so more platforms can run the same game, which is great from a creator's perspective. Among those platformers, our mission is that we will continue to be the best place to play and publish." So the obvious thing here is, while the Switch 2 is more capable, the PlayStation 5 in its current form and just how publishers sort of gravitate towards it as the default system is just that. It's the system that if you see a trailer, you kind of assume, unless it's maybe from Microsoft with some of their offerings right now that they hold back at least initially, you can kind of assume, that's probably a PlayStation logo popping up. It has to be like Mario, Zelda, or something for Nintendo's first party lineup to where you're not expecting it. Otherwise, third party, there's probably a PlayStation logo at the end of this trailer. That's just kind of the situation that Sony has found themselves in. And while they're not necessarily doing what Nintendo is kind of betting on convenience still with the Switch 2, it's obviously not as capable, we'll say, or as powerful as a PlayStation 5. But it seems like it can turn in a lot of the experiences and be almost as good. Like, is it good enough for some people? Yes. I mean, Cyberpunk, I see people playing through it, even though if you play it on a PS5, you'll get just a better experience with 60 frames per second, more populated areas, and higher resolution, sure. But you also can't take it with you, like on the go, and that is a big thing, and one of the reasons the Switch 1 has sold incredibly well, because it just sort of fits into everyday lifestyle for people who can't necessarily be tethered to the TV at all times. But Sony looks at this and says, hey, that's fine. That's the compromise people will make for the kinds of experiences we turn out and the sort of hardware you get out of the PlayStation 5. That said, I do think Sony is working towards a handheld that will come out in a few years and might be one of those platforms that they mentioned for next generation offerings. So they might actually get there, and it's going to seem kind of weird when they go, you need PS5 power, but here's a handheld that doesn't technically have quote unquote PS5 power. It's going to be a good enough experience that should play the same games, just not at upscaled 4K, we'll say, on the big screen there. It'll just be a handheld system with 1080p and 1080p. So still years down the line, plans change or are in motion now. And this is just kind of investor speak explaining why Nintendo in its current form isn't necessarily a huge threat to them. Although some of the partnerships Nintendo is making with things like a FromSoft game coming up here next year, and how strong Nintendo is in Japan, as we just saw with the Switch 2 launching to more than 1 million systems selling in less than a week there to open. They're going to make a lot more partnerships with some of these third-party publishers out of Japan who have shown that, they're very successful right now and control some very, very strong intellectual properties. So it's going to be very interesting to see what that Switch 2 can accomplish as we go through the generation. But again, halfway through, we'll see the PS6 and most likely a handheld from Sony. Now, they were also asked about the idea of younger gamers maybe just sticking with Nintendo and not, they say, quote unquote, graduating to a PlayStation 5 or PlayStation 6 or PlayStation 7 down the road. And Sony's response mostly was, We're still continuing to do things that are kind of general audience, like Astrobot, and things they mentioned Horizon appeals to female gamers. But also they mentioned anime as a big driving factor for the younger demographic. And yeah, they have a huge foothold right now in the anime space. So that, tied with some of their franchises in gaming, maybe crossing over into that space, of course, will work to drive the younger generation to just kind of stick with Sony going forward. I mean, it's worked so far for them, but I don't know, the Switch 2 is, I think it's going to be an interesting thing, obviously, to follow, just see what it's really capable of and what kind of third-party support it will end up getting when it's all said and done. Next up, let's talk about the potential for price increases, and I'll tell you now, this should be expected, and I'm just getting you ready for this because it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen sooner rather than later, and that has to do with Xbox Game Pass. Now, Sony did also talk about, real quick, PlayStation Plus on their side when it comes to PlayStation Plus Premium being fairly accepted. Like, a lot of people seem to be moving to that over PlayStation Plus Extra. They're opting for the more expensive tier. Sounds like they might even raise their own prices at this point because, wow, people don't really seem to mind. Maybe we throw a few extra benefits and it goes up 20% or something for the year. So keep that in mind. But one that we kind of have some evidence now popping up is for Xbox Game Pass. We can see this posted up. This is over on Windows Central. Says Red PHX, who builds the rather amazing Better xCloud Xbox Cloud Gaming Enhancement project, noticed that Xbox Cloud Gaming recently added a new notification type, dubbed subscription price increase, over the last few days. The string pertains to pop-ups that Xbox Cloud Gaming serves to players who enable notifications on the xbox.com/play web app. So that could also be an achievement that you unlock, right? An invite that you get, or them letting you know that your subscription price is going up. It's increased, right? This shouldn't surprise anyone. Really, as soon as we saw that Microsoft said, hey, our consoles are going up in price, I mean, they just moved right to a $600 Xbox Series X, ripped the Band-Aid off right away. Also, we're going to $80 games later this year, and Outer Worlds 2 is $80, which that threw everyone off. I figured most of us said, well, yeah, Call of Duty is clearly going to go to $80. Oh no, also Outer Worlds 2 is going to be $80. When you start seeing those games stack up, and they're going into Game Pass day one, you go, okay, so that means in their mind, just the value of Game Pass has risen. So then what they charge consumers has to go up as well in their mind from that corporate side, right? So in this case, my expectation for, we'll say Game Pass Ultimate, is to go from $20 a month to $25 a month. That comes out to $300 a year, and if they do deliver 4 $80 games, $320, they'll say, hey, you're saving $20. All right, so these games are all going in there. And then, of course, other games will go with it. So it's just incredible value for $300 a year. I think if they go further than that, this price increase, I think you might actually lose some people. Like, $30 a month would be kind of crazy. I mean, if you think about it that way, it's like, whoa, okay, hold on. $306 a year. How many of these games am I actually playing, especially even the big $80 games? People start to think a bit more about that $30, $29.99 withdrawal from their account every month when it comes to Game Pass Ultimate. So it's just kind of the way we've seen it with subscription services across the board. Video streaming services, those things go up every other month, it feels like now. So naturally, Microsoft, Sony, look out for Nintendo at some point. These subscription services are going to continue to rise. It's just how much do they want to do in one move? That to me is the big question. Expect 25. If it's 30, whew, that'd be an interesting day online. Next up, let's talk about GameStop. As, I mean, look, we can all look around and realize the writing's on the wall when it comes to physical media and the fact that maybe even next generation, I mean, Microsoft feels like isn't going to have a disk drive in their next system. Who knows with Sony by 2028? Nintendo is locked into these game key cards, and every third party wants to just take advantage of that, but at least it has a retail facing for GameStop. Otherwise, though, you can kind of see how all of their sections are going to shrink down and be really non-existent for maybe next generation. So you feel like they have to pivot at some point. Well, it looks like GameStop may have their answer, and get ready for this one. We can see this is posted up. This is over on MSN. Says, as the video game industry goes increasingly digital, cutting out retailers for software sales, GameStop is pivoting towards the trading card business. CEO Ryan Cohen said at the company's annual shareholder meeting, We're focusing on trading cards as a natural extension of our existing business. The trading card market, whether it's sports, Pokemon, or collectibles, is aligned with our heritage. It fits our trade model, it appeals to our core customer base, and it's deeply embedded in physical retail. It is worth noting that collectibles, such as Pokemon cards and baseball cards, made up 29% of the company's sales in the first quarter, outselling video game software. That's what they reported actually last week. Okay, so I know the trading card stuff, it can be very lucrative if you do it right. I get it. We've seen the people fighting at Costco. I mean, they're not doing that for something that's worth zero. So if they're willing to fight over it, they're probably willing to throw down hundreds of dollars for it in store. I get that. I do wonder, though, if they say it's outsold their video game software. I wonder how much growth there is in general, as in foot traffic, people walking through the store. Are people like running to GameStop to get these Pokemon cards in mass enough to hold up an entire corporation like this? Well, apparently they've also spent millions and millions of dollars on Bitcoin. So that's another avenue, I guess, for them. We'll see with that. And otherwise, if you go into a GameStop now, you look around, the store is half video games, half just all kinds of other randomness. So they're already kind of working towards that. It's interesting to see what I remember GameStop being back in the day, whether it's that or EB Games. I mean, you can even look at Toys R Us, but the video game section as a focal point for a big chain like GameStop is just not really, for them, a reality any longer. It's just straight Pokemon cards. I do wonder how that is going to work, because all I assume they're going to be doing here in a bit is breaking over like all these booster boxes and sorting out cards and filling just glass cases with them, taking trade-ins on it. Just wonder how much money is legitimately there for a corporation of that size. Then it makes me think that they would just do some downsizing, try to even out all the bars on the chart that they have to turn in at the end of the year for these reports. But, I am curious. Are you someone who trades heavily in Pokemon cards? And do you think there's enough money there to hold up a corporation that will be trying to report hundreds of millions, maybe even $1 billion plus in terms of overall revenue for the year? And in our last bit of news, let's talk about something that we've heard whispers of here and there, and we could be seeing it announced this week. And that has to do with Red Dead Redemption 2, and not only the big next generation update, maybe the Switch 2 version. So we can see this is posted up. This is over on Push Square. It says, Rob, the voice of John Marston, has teased exciting news on a stream. While he confirms he can't share the information just yet, he says everyone should know before Friday, June 20th. Well, so here's the thing with Rockstar and Take-Two. They do indeed just kind of announce stuff whenever they want. Remember with Red Dead Redemption, when that got that the remaster treatment? It just randomly showed up one morning. Here you go, Red Dead Redemption Remastered is coming out here in a couple of months. You can pre-order it here. The Xbox version is already updated. You can check that out. It's kind of like nonchalant, just threw it out there. So they don't necessarily need a big event like a Summer Game Fest or anything from Microsoft, Sony, or Nintendo. They'll just do it whenever they want. So if it is coming out by the end of this year, you might want to get moving on that soon so you can release it, say, in the fall. There's also talks around this GTA 4 stuff where there's some sort of remaster there. Some have mentioned Max Payne. That could be something that could happen there with Max Payne 3. And so there's still a lot of things that they're going back, and it feels like just bringing back up after a decade plus for some of these games. But Red Dead Redemption 2 in general has sorely needed an update for the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series. It really, really has. Go to 60 frames, take advantage of a lot of the newer features from these platforms, and then also get a Switch 2 version going, because that could be one of those showpiece games for the system. Right now we have Cyberpunk. It's impressive that it just works in general, especially the Phantom Liberty stuff, but Red Dead Redemption 2 still looks like amazing on a base PS4, and since the Switch 2 is kind of that midway point between the PS4 and the PS5 and the Xbox Series, it's like in between somewhere, that could be kind of cool just to see what they could do with that hardware in a game like Red Dead Redemption 2. So keep an eye out. It feels like this week, just based on some of the stuff going around, could be a lot of fun for Red Dead Redemption 2 fans and early adopters for the Switch 2. And before we go to the comments of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I asked, is GameStop your main place to buy games? 87% say no, 13% say yes. I did see some people in the comments are like, there's none in my area. Some say I don't have any in my country at all. And then others saying, you know what, I've gone all digital. I don't even buy physical games anymore. And others saying I just buy it on Amazon or on Best Buy. They just ship it to my house. I don't even go to the store anymore unless you are trying to get a game system like we just did with the Switch 2 where you'd line up. Otherwise, it's just all done online for the most part. And I think back to the old days again, and I'm going back to the PS2, Xbox, GameCube generation, where when you would go to a video game store, it was an event. You might not even have money. You're just going there with some friends. Maybe your friend is going and their parents are taking them, and like you can kind of tag along. It was an experience. It really was. A lot of window shopping, sure, but you'd go there and they might even have the standee out for the new Xbox system, and Munch's Odyssey is playing. Let me know if you remember that one. Those are the days. Or even if the GameCube was up and they had Wave Race, or I feel like I went and I remember for some reason it was 007. That was Agent Under Fire. For some reason, that's the game they were showing off. But even then, I was like, this is incredible. It's like those old moments where you would just kind of browse around and it just felt almost like another world going there. Now it's like, there's a GameStop there. Maybe I'll go and check it out. Or I can just look on my phone and see if there's anything I want and just have it shipped to my house. And hey, with Amazon, it might get to my house before I get home. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This is from G Video. Says, Konami will be back when we get some new Castlevania games, Vandal Hearts games, and Contra games. Okay, so I don't know about Vandal Hearts. I'm not really sure if they're doing anything big with that. I don't think they're a big blowout there, but they've done some Contra games. They just haven't worked out great. And Castlevania is the other big one, obviously. That when they're ready, I think there is a Castlevania game that they're going to show, maybe even a couple. And I think when they do, it hopefully will go over well. I still would like them to make it 2D, but 3D is clearly the bigger budget option for marketability. But man, a 2D Castlevania with, I don't want to say renewed interest, but there are people who are checking out some of these Metroidvania games again or for the first time and gravitating it towards it more. But the problem we run into is it's tough for these 2D games to go for the $60 price, the $70 price. A lot of the time they fall into the $30 or $40, maybe $50. And it just depends on how Konami wants to approach it. I mean, really, in a perfect world, they have a 2D Castlevania game and they have a 3D. Just kind of both. Take a shot at either setup there and see what sticks. But I do think Konami is making a move here for Castlevania. It's just they haven't been ready to show it yet. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed last week's Newswave, I'll leave that up here in a card. Or maybe you want to hear more about, I think, a feature that Nintendo has completely undersold for the Switch 2, just based on the reaction and interest online alone. I'll leave that right below it. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.